Sportsnet LA presents the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Cleveland Indians, and for the Dodgers, the 5th game of spring training. Hi again, everybody. Charlie Steiner and Rick Monday. We've been saying all week, especially in spring training, it's not whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. The Dodgers have played very well, especially the youngsters.
The youngsters have played. In fact, there's about 6 different youngsters that have been in the lineup. 2 of them will be in today, Scott Schebler and also Darnell Sweeney. Charlie, quite frankly, they've been most impressive, yes, early going. But if you look at Schebler to begin with, he's had home runs 27 2 years ago. He hit 28 last year. He was the Dodgers minor league player of the season a couple of years ago. And then you add Darnell Sweeney. Sweeney's going to be in center field, about 8th and 9th in today's game. But for Sweeney, he can run and get the ball, too. They both have very good speed, so it's kind of nice to see the youngsters, and we may see more as this game unfolds today.
Jock Peterson will not be playing today, but later on we'll see Corey Seager, Ari Arabarena, Alex Guerrero, who's 5 for 7, and Okoye Dixon, who's got 2 home runs and a double in the first week. Mike Bolsinger goes for the Dodgers. Corey Kluber, the American League Cy Young Award winner, when we come back.
I do it myself.
Cleveland Indians. And Corey Kluber is going to be making the start for the Tribe today, the Cy Young Award winner last year for the Indians. So the Dodgers have some heavy lifting to do today, and here's the lineup that Don Mattingly is putting together. With Jimmy Rollins leading off at shortstop, he'll be followed by Carl Crawford and then Adrian Gonzalez. Yasmani Grandal is the catcher in the cleanup spot. Howie Kendrick at second base will be hitting 5th. Andre Ethier is the DH today. Juan Uribe at third base, and the 2 youngsters who've opened some eyes in the first week of the new season, certainly the exhibition season. Scott Schebler, left-handed hitter in right field, and Darnell Sweeney in center field, switch hitter, and he is batting 9th.
Well, the Dodgers trying to continue the momentum, and I think that Don Mattingly, as we go along, Charlie, it's about the time that they're going to start amping up the running game a little bit more. Interesting as well is that Jimmy Rollins in that leadoff spot. So Rollins and then Crawford. And then during the season, is it going to be Adrian Gonzalez, as he is today, batting in number 3 position? And then following Gonzalez today, Grandal, and then Howie Kendrick. So the offense, Mattingly knows that Rollins is going to be in the leadoff spot, but the rest of the positions, well, he's going to wait and see before he really commits.
78 degrees, sunshine, nary a cloud in the sky as Jimmy Rollins steps into the batter's box. Rollins, so far this spring, is 2 for 4, so he'll get a couple of at-bats, maybe 3 today. More than likely it'll be a pair. We're going to see Corey Seager at shortstop later in the day today. So the Dodgers, the youngsters have been a great story. in the first week of the year. So here's the veteran Rollins at the ripe old age of 36, leading it off. Kluber's first pitch. Rollins squares the bunt, takes it back. It's high and away. 1 ball and no strikes. Rollins and Crawford and Gonzalez to begin the game. Weather could not be any more perfect. There is no wind whatsoever. Rollins taking inside and low, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Corey Kluber, who won the Cy Young last year, really coming out of, relatively speaking, nowhere. Kluber deals, breaking ball for a strike, 2-1. Last year, 18-9, a 2.44 ERA, 34 starts, 235 2/3 innings, and just 64 earned runs. Struck out 269, walked 51. Rollins pops it up behind second base, and Jose Ramirez is there to make the catch, and we're underway.
Charlie, with Rollins even showing that he was going to bunt possibly in that first pitch had it been a strike. Talking with Maury Wills a couple of days ago at Dodgertown, out by Maury's pit, where he in fact works with the bunting. He says Rollins is a very good bunter, and he brought up another name, and that other name was, well, he's down the lineup, Howie Kendrick. He said of the two, Rollins bunts a little bit better.
Carl Crawford stepping in. Crawford with an outstanding defensive play yesterday, throwing out Justin Ruggiano on a base hit into the left field corner. He spun, turned, and threw out Ruggiano at second base. Crawford, this is the first off season in a long time where he did not have to rehab a thing. He takes a ball inside and low, 1 ball and no strikes. So he comes into the season in great shape. Of course, last year he was doing fine until he sprained his ankle on a freak play on the warning track in left field at Dodger Stadium. Now Crawford lines a base hit into right field. So Crawford, a good first week.
Good first week and feeling very good as well. With Crawford, you're always concerned about the legs because the legs he has, quite frankly, are massively built. And last year he worked long and hard to keep his legs healthy through the season.
Carl, very fast runner. And he is capable of stealing a lot of bases. In conversation over at first base with Carlos Santana, once a Dodger. Crawford a short lead. Yan Gomes, the catcher, one of the better ones in the American League. Now there goes Crawford on the first pitch in the dirt. Gomes can't pick it up, and so right away Crawford steals a base.
Yeah, Crawford got a very good jump. We did find one thing is that the infield is really watered down. Crawford slid and did not really get to the bag initially. It was his left knee just digging into the dirt, but excellent first step on the speed, full speed on the throttle. But a little sticky as far as the infield and the slide.
So Crawford is at second base after the hit and the stolen base. Crawford stole 60 bases in 2009 with Tampa Bay.
Just saying is that this is the time that Don Manley's coaching staff said, look, we're going to give the green light. We're going to start forcing the issues. If guys feel that they are ready to start running, they do not want to force legs that are not at full strength right now.
Crawford at second base. Adrian Gonzalez is the hitter. And Gonzalez swings at a fastball upstairs. That is 2-1. Just underway. Rollins popped out. Crawford singled to right and stole second. Gonzalez, of course, led the National League last year with 116 runs batted in. He's been a model of consistency throughout his big league career. Gonzalez originally drafted by the Marlins. Then on to Texas, San Diego, and of course with the Dodgers. And he wraps one foul down the first base line, and Davey Lopes, the first base coach, has to get out of the way, and Lorenzo Bundy is the third base coach.
Indians, like most teams that we see in defensing against Adrian Gonzalez, playing a little bit to pull, in particular Ramirez is shortstop, almost playing up the middle. That will curtail the lead of Crawford leading off at second.
So Gonzalez standing deep in the box, slightly open stance. Awaits the pitch from Kluber. Out of the stretch, set at the belt, and here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. Down goes Gonzalez. First strikeout of the game, second out of the inning.
Yeah, it's unfair. We saw Clayton Kershaw a couple of days ago with a curveball that was just dropping, looked like midseason form. Then you get Kluber, who throws hard to begin with. An excellent changeup, off-speed pitch to Adrian Gonzalez to get him.
Now the switch hitting Yasmani Grandal. Batting for the left side against Kluber.
This is the side that Grandal really can be more of a force as far as any power. From the left side, more so than from the right side.
Slightly closed stance. Standing near the plate. Takes inside and low, 1 ball and no strikes.
Yeah, he's going to get out of the way and wearing a protection on his right ankle. He was originally in the lineup yesterday to start the game behind the plate, but he was hit on the foot during batting practice with a pitch. He still was the designated hitter, but did not get behind the plate.
Austin Barnes started behind the plate yesterday. And Barnes is here today, so he may see some time later. Grandal fouls it off to the left. And the count is 1-1. Corey Kluber, 6'4", 215 pounds. Will turn 29 on April the 10th. Part of a 3-way deal involving the Cardinals and Padres back in 2010. Westbrook went to St. Louis. Ryan Ludwig was traded inside, and there was Kluber involved in the deal. 2 balls and a strike to Yasmani Grandal with Howie Kendrick on it. Goodyear Ballpark. The Indians and the Reds share it, much like the way the Dodgers share Camelback Ranch with the White Sox. Grandal takes a strike on the outside corner, and it's 2-2. Last year, of course, the breakout year for Kluber when he went 18-9. 2013, 11-5, but until then, 2-5, 7-11. So he really broke out. Became the 4th Indian pitcher in history to win the Cy Young. Now Grandal lines one into center field for a base hit. Rounding third, and on his way home is Carl Crawford without a throw. An RBI single for Yasmani Grandal, and the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead.
Grandal went down and got it. Down probably below the knee. But Grandal really is strong, and not a bad pitch at all by Kluber. That was down and tailing away. Grandal, like most hitters, they're not that much of a pull hitter, such as Adrian Gonzalez. You go left center to right center, you have much better control with the bat in the strike zone.
Grandal's second base hit of the spring and his first RBI as Howie Kendrick steps in. So the Dodgers with the early lead against the Cy Young Award winning Corey Kluber. Kendrick awaits. The pitch is outside and low. 1 ball and no strikes.
Right here in the first inning, Charlie, we've seen what speed can do if you're running in the right spot, have the right people. With 1 out, the Crawford single, he turns it really into a double by stealing second base. And then Grandal gives the Dodgers the lead with the RBI.
2-out single to center. Kendrick batting in the 5 spot, and he may well be there during the course of the seasons. He takes outside and low, 2 balls, no strikes. Andre Ethier, the DH today, is on deck. Kendrick 1 for 4 this spring. His 1 hit a double. 2 balls and no strikes. Kluber set at the belt. Here's the pitch. Foul back to the screen, and the count is 2-1. Already, Kluber's thrown 17 pitches here in the first. Well, that's one of the things also that the Dodgers want to improve upon over the past few years. Work the counts more deeply, make the other guys sweat a little bit. Too often last year, his first ball swinging, and they'd be out of innings before they could help themselves. Now the 2-1. Kendrick swings and misses. Throw down to first base, and Grandal has been thrown out by Yan Gomes. Kendrick swung and missed, and Gomes fired a seed to first. Grandal picked off there. That will end the inning, but not before the Dodgers come up with a run and a couple of hits. We'll go to the bottom of the first, and Mike Bolsinger will be making the start for the Dodgers when we come back. One, 215 pounds. Came over from the Diamondbacks in the offseason. Made his major league debut and faced the Dodgers last year in 10 appearances, 9 starts with Arizona, 1-6, and an ERA of 5.5. So let's see what Bolsinger can do. And the Indians lineup as Jose Ramirez leading it off, to be followed by Jason Kipnis and Michael Brantley, who's turned out to be one of the stars of the game. Carlos Santana, one-time Dodger, followed by Lonnie Chisenhall at third. Yan Gomes, the catcher. David Murphy in right field. DH Jerry Sands, one-time Dodger, and Tyler Naquin will be batting ninth. So here is Ramirez, a steady defender. The feeling is he is just kind of occupying time for the Cleveland Indians until one of their bright young prospects is called upon, Francisco Lindor. They think he's a year away, but in the meantime, it is Ramirez, a very steady defender. Switch hitter batting from the left side, takes inside. And the count is 2 balls and no strikes.
Steady defender to the Cleveland Indians is music to the ears of Terry Francona, their manager, because they were last in baseball in defense.
By a lot. Bolsinger delivers a strike, and it's 2-1. The Indians made 118 errors last year and allowed 72 unearned runs. Bolsinger misses. 3 balls and 1 strike. And Bolsinger, the righty, deals. Strike on the outside corner, and it's 3-2. The Indians last year at 85 and 77. Ramirez slashes a line drive foul up the first base line. 5 games behind the Tigers. But the Indians have solid pitching. They can beef up their defense. And they like the middle of their lineup. Here's a 3-2. Ground ball to second base. On the third hop, an easy play for Howie Kendrick. Ramirez is retired, and Bolsinger retires the first batter he faces.
If the Indians, with the pitching that they have, if they get some defense behind them, they're going to be even more difficult to go against. Indians pitching staff had American League best earned run average last season. So it's really anchored by a strong rotation to begin with, but they need some gloves behind them.
Now Jason Kipnis coming up. Kipnis beleaguered by the fickle finger of fate. This is his first spring training game. And he takes under the knees and inside 1 ball and no strikes. The Chicago native underwent surgery on his left ring finger in December. And he lines one into left field, but Crawford, battling the sun, is there to make the catch on a knee, and there's 2 out. Wind is blowing just a hair from right field toward left. Nothing like the gale force winds the Dodgers and White Sox, or actually the Mariners, were battling yesterday. So 2 out, nobody on. Michael Brantley coming up. Brantley, a breakout season last year, hitting .327 with 20 home runs and 97 runs batted in. Also impressive, Brantley stole 23 bases and was caught only once. Takes a strike, it's 0-1. 1-0 Dodgers, 2 out in the bottom half of the first. Carlos Santana is on deck. Bolsinger deals just inside. And it's 1-1. Dodgers and the Brewers tomorrow. Be on the air at 12:30. Time changes. Bring ahead, fall back. The ball under the knees to Brantley, and it's 2-1. So we'll be on the air. Pre-game 12:30. First pitch 1:05. Brandon McCarthy will be making his first start of the spring for the Dodgers against Mike Fire. The 2-1. Breaking ball inside corner at the knees, and it's 2-2. So the American League Central promises to be a very interesting division this year. The White Sox, of course, we've seen them a couple of times already. They've fortified themselves. Tigers with the middle of their lineup. Indians. Now the 2-2 on the way. Ground ball, second hop, right to Jimmy Rollins. A couple of steps to the left of the bag, picks it up, throws out Brantley. The inning is over. A good first inning from Mike Bolsinger. Nothing across. We go to the second inning. Kendrick Ethier and Uribe coming up. 1-0 Dodgers. Grandal was picked off at first base by catcher Yan Gomes in the top half of the first, so Kendrick leads off here in the second. Ethier on deck and Uribe to follow against Corey Kluber. Here's the pitch. Fouled off to the right and out of play, and it's 0-1. Kluber became the 4th Indians pitcher in history to win the Cy Young Award. Gaylord Perry in '72, C.C. Sabathia in '07, Cliff Lee in '08, and Kluber last year. No balls and a strike to Kendrick. And he takes a fastball inside and low, and it's 1-1.
Kluber not only wins the Cy Young Award, he throws a lot of innings, which means that the bullpen can get a breather, something that the bullpen for the Indians did not get much of last year.
Ball outside and low to Kendrick, 2-1. They were busy.
Yeah. You and I were chatting earlier this morning about the fact that Terry Francona used his bullpen a league record 573 times. 4 different pitchers had 70 appearances.
Now the 2-1. Kendrick with a ground ball to short. It's picked up, and Jose Ramirez throws across the diamond to Carlos Santana for the first out of the second.
And you go 70 appearances or more by 4 different guys out of a bullpen. That's called a tired bullpen when it's all said and done.
Now Andre Ethier stepping into the batter's box. Ethier, 249 last year, and obviously a lot of question as to whether or not he will be with the Dodgers come opening day. There's been a lot of conjecture since the end of last season. And at the moment, as of Saturday, March the 7th, at 1:26 in the afternoon, he is the 4th man in a 3-man outfield. As he fouls it back, and it's 0-1. The assumption is at center field is Jock Peterson's, unless he loses it. Crawford is cemented in left and Puig in right. So the left-handed hitting Ethier on 0-1. Fouls it into the dirt, and the count is 0-2. What's been behind the turnaround of Corey Kluber?
2-seam fastball he discovered. They told him, look, stay with it. So you add depth to it. He has that big slurvy breaking ball, and then the changeup we've already seen in today's game. You add that, it equals confidence.
And a lot of ground balls. And there's a fly ball into right center field. Drifting on over is Tyler Naquin. Now out a step or 2 to make the catch. Ethier's retired, 2 out and nobody out. And here comes Juan Uribe.
I picked up a magazine, baseball magazine, last night. I looked at it today, and it says in here, and the quote is at the top, how to hit Bauer, Kluber, and Carrasco. And under Kluber it says he's got a very good delivery. You don't see the ball well. He has confidence and command of his breaking stuff, even when behind in the count. So if you get a guy that has a confidence in throwing the breaking ball and he's behind in the count, you add to it that good 2-seam fastball overpowering, it's going to be a long day at the office.
Ball outside and low. 1 ball and no strikes to Uribe. Juan in his career is a .257 hitter, but last year, .311. 9 home runs, 54 runs batted in. And he lines on the right center field. Naquin is drifting on back, and the Indian center fielder tracks it down, and that will end the inning. Nothing across for the Dodgers. We go to the bottom of the 2nd, and they've got a 1-0 lead on the Cleveland Indians. The box. Awaits the pitch from Kluber. Here it comes. It's a strike. 2-1.
Another thing I like watching some of the younger players, and Sweeney falls in this category, they're very measured about how they go about their at-bats. Really the way they play. Everything remains the same. Sweeney at 288 AA last year, and then for good measure hit well over 300 in the Arizona Fall League this year.
288 at Chattanooga last season. Sweeney pops it up. Left side of the diamond. High sky, and the third baseman, Lonnie Chisenhall, makes the catch. Shading his eyes as the wraparound sunglasses, you can see the sun reflect off the shade. So Sweeney is retired. "24-year-old Darnell Sweeney takes a seat, and 36-year-old Jimmy Rollins is coming up. Rollins popped to short in his first at-bat. Jimmy Rollins. Didn't take long for him to become one of the team leaders with the Dodgers. MVP in 2007. Three-time All-Star, four-time Gold Glove winner.
There's a lot of different things, including being one of only 4 players in baseball last year with at least 15 home runs and 25 stolen bases.
And the pitch to Rollins. Grounds it to the right side. Kipnis throws to second, out at second, throw to first, and a double play. Nice play at the receiving end by Carlos Santana. Short hop throw from Ramirez, but that will end the inning. No runs, 1 hit, and nobody left. After 2.5 innings of play, Dodgers and Indians are tied at 1. For the 8th, the Dodgers host the Padres at 7:10. First 40,000 fans in attendance will receive an adult replica pullover jacket courtesy of Bank of America. To secure your tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. New pitcher for the Dodgers is the veteran right-hander Chad Godin, who is hoping to find a spot either somewhere in the bullpen mix or perhaps as an occasional starter. Godin, a recent signing, came up with the Rays in 2003. And from Tampa to Toronto to Oakland. to the Cubs, to the Yankees, to the Padres, back to the Yankees, back to Oakland, Washington, Miami, and San Francisco. You can say that he is well traveled. When all is said and done, a little more than 8 big league years under his belt. 5'10", 190. Career record 45 and 44. And his first pitch is a strike, 0-1 to Tyler Naquin, an Indian prospect they were waiting on at Double-A last year. He had .313 with 4 home runs and 30 runs batted in, left-handed hitter. Go down deals, low and outside. And it's 1-1. So what were your impressions of Mike Bolsinger?
I thought he was spot on. Did not fall behind in counts, went right after it. And if you're going to make a ball club, do it with conviction.
Go down, misses inside. And it's 2-1.
Just had a thought for Cleveland Indian fans that maybe came out to Arizona for spring training. They're enjoying it here. 78 degrees at game time. In Cleveland, it's 29 wind chill at the present time.
Here's the 2-1 on the way. Naquin swings and misses. And the count is 2-2. Jose Ramirez on deck. Jason Kipnis to follow. Dodgers defensively. Uribe and Rollins and Kendrick and Gonzalez from left to right. Expect that to be the opening day defensive crew. Carl Crawford in left field, Darnell Sweeney in center, Scott Schebler in right, and Yasmani Grandal is behind the plate. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Naquin. 1-1 tie as we begin the bottom of the third. Go down into the wide, and here's the pitch. Ground ball to short. And Jimmy Rollins throws across the diamond. Naquin is retired, 1 out and nobody on. So now here's Jose Ramirez. The Indians began the year with Asdrubal Cabrera at shortstop. But he had difficulty picking him up and throwing him out. He'd eventually be traded to Washington, where he played second base and proved to be a better second baseman than shortstop. Ramirez, as steady as she goes defender, and that's exactly what the Indians needed. Takes a strike, 0-1. He bounced to second in his first at-bat. Jason Kipnis on deck. Go down, misses low and inside. And the count is 1-1. So Corey Kluber's first outing of the season for the Indians is over. 1 run and 3 hits, 1 strikeout. Zach McAllister is warming up in the Indian bullpen. Go down, pulls the string, and Ramirez swings and misses. And misses by a lot. The count is 1-2.
With the low-speed pitch going earlier on, it sends a very good message. You arrived in camp raring to go.
Well, Godin is a veteran, and he's singing for his supper. Here comes the 1-2 on the way. Ground ball, short right field. Picked up by Howie Kendrick, a couple of steps on the outfield grass. Bobbled it initially, but still had plenty of time to throw out Ramirez. There's 2 outs.
It's actually a thinking man's way to play the ball, because Howie Kendrick, the veteran, understands he was going to be in that in-between hop. He had moved back to the outfield grass, and he made sure that he got the body, sacrificed the body. If I don't get it with the hands cleanly, at least knock it down, a chance to pick it up and throw him out at first.
Jason Kipnis is the hitter. Fly to left in his first at-bat. This is his first spring training appearance. Had surgery on his left ring finger in December. He has been given the go-ahead to go all out now. 1 ball and no strikes. Kipnis rounds it up the first baseline. Backhanded by Gonzalez. Underhanded flip to Godin covering. And a 1-2-3 inning for Chad Godin. The Dodgers figure he's going to go a couple of innings today. His first inning was flawless. We'll go to the 4th inning. Dodgers and Indians tied at 1. American League Cy Young Award winner, gives up a run and 3 hits in 3 innings. He struck out 1 and didn't walk anybody. New pitcher for the Indians is Zach McAllister. McAllister, born in Peoria, Illinois. God bless. 6'6", 240 pounds. Last year with the Tribe, 4-7, an ERA of 5 1/4. Originally drafted by the Yankees in 2006 and came over to Cleveland in 2010. Carl Crawford leading it off for the Dodgers as we begin the 4th. He singled to right and stole a base and scored a run in his first at-bat. He takes a strike from McAllister, and it's 0-1. Crawford, Gonzalez, and Grandal will bat. Crawford he fouls one off his foot, drops the bat, and now he's trying to shake it off and make like it never happened.
Won't work. Won't work. I'm telling you.
Stan Conti is immediately coming out to visit with the grimacing Carl Crawford. And Don Mattingly has come out of the dugout to make sure Crawford is limping around at the moment. It is okay.
Yeah, the problem you run into is that all of a sudden, depending upon where it comes down and hits, if it's on your ankle or shin, it can swell immediately. On your foot as well, but at least your shoe is going to keep the swelling down for a while. But I can tell you this, you foul a ball off your foot, at the strike of midnight, the glass slipper will not fit.
The Indians pitching change brought to you by In-N-Out Burger. That's fresh, and there's In-N-Out Burger fresh. Always the highest quality ingredients, always made to order, never compromise at In-N-Out. That's what a hamburger is all about. Why not stop in after the game? Well, Crawford grimacing a bit, back in the batter's box, takes high and away, and the count is 1-2.
Thought that you have as a hitter that you're hoping that next pitch after you foul it off your foot, you hope it's not low and inside.
Now the pitch to Crawford, fouls it back and out of play, and we'll pause here 10 seconds for station identification on the Dodgers radio network. One ball, 2 strikes to Carl Crawford, leading off in the 4th. The Dodgers and Indians are tied at 1. The pitch is up and away. And it's 2-2. Charlie Steiner, Rick Monday. Beautiful Saturday afternoon. Crawford, Gonzalez, and Grandal to bat for the Dodgers here in the 4th. McAllister, the second Indians pitcher of the day. Big right-hander, wears the black socks all the way to the knee. And the pitch to Crawford, a swing and a miss. Half-hearted swing and bat for Crawford. He just wants to go back to the dugout. And Stan Conti will greet him as he walks toward the dugout steps down the third base line.
First thing that Mattingly does, goes over and talks to Carl, said, "Oh, you're all right."
1 out, nobody on. Adrian Gonzalez struck out swinging in his first at-bat. Shortstop Ramirez is about 3 or 4 steps to the third base side of second. And a ground ball right to him. Gonzalez easily retired, 2 out. Well, the other day when Rob Manfred, the new commissioner of baseball, threw out the trial balloon of perhaps outlawing shifts to provide more offense in the game. Well, that trial balloon got shot out of the air. And the hitter now, Grandal, takes outside and low, 1 ball and no strikes. And so a quasi shift was on for Gonzalez. 2 out, and Grandal fouls it off to the left, and the count is 1-1.
Mention of Grandal, maybe a little bit more power from the left side. When you watch his stride, at times it can get a little bit long. His feet initially are maybe shoulder width apart. At times his stride a little bit too lengthy.
Slightly closed stance and a fly ball to left field. Well hit. Back goes Brantley at the wall, and it is gone. A home run. Yasmani Grandal goes the other way. His first home run of the spring, and the Dodgers take a 2-1 lead. Yasmani Grandal, last year with the Padres, hit 15 home runs, knocked in 49. This is his first long ball of the spring.
Little bit of a leg kick, no overstride on this one. You go the opposite way, you're not lunging at all. The ball hit off a little bit the end of the bat. Still enough power to clear the fences.
Grandal has knocked in both Dodger runs today. Howie Kendrick fouls it off to the right and out of play. It's 0-1.
That trip around the diamond by Yasmani Grandal, sponsored by Daniels Jewelers. For every Dodger home run, the Daniels Jewelers family donates to local children's charities, and over $500,000 over the last 4 seasons.
Howie Kendrick takes inside and low, and the count is 1-1.
So keep in mind our good friends at Daniels Jewelers, making diamond dreams come true since 1948.
Kendrick bounced to short in his first at-bat. McAllister deals. Ground ball slowly hit to third. A foul ball. A foot foul. Nick Lentz is the third base umpire. He's a rookie. Have not seen him work before. Pat Hoberg is the home plate umpire. Scott Barry at first. Tishner at second. And Lentz is at third. So McAllister gives up the home run to Grandal here in the 4th inning. Dodgers 2-1. Kendrick swings and misses. Hit down and away. Struck out. That ends the inning. 1 run, 1 hit. The Grandal home run after 3.5. Dodgers 2. And the Indians 1. Over in left field for Carl Crawford. Now, whether or not it has anything to do with the fact that Crawford fouled one off his foot, shin, in the top half of the 4th, he was going to get a couple of at-bats, may have come out maybe an inning early, but either way, Guerrero, who's 5 for 7 this spring, takes over in left field. What the Dodgers are trying to do is find a position for Guerrero. They're talking about perhaps as a third baseman, maybe an outfielder, and Guerrero's in left. Michael Brantley leads off for the Indians in the bottom of the half of the 4th inning and takes Lowen inside. 1 ball, no strikes. Brantley, Santana, and Chisenhall facing Chad go down. Now to Louisiana. Now the 1-0 is a line drive base hit into right field. Clean, hard line drive single off the bat of Michael Brantley.
Folks, as a reminder, for every Dodger home run this season, the Daniels Jewelers family donates $1,000 to local children's charities. Over $500,000 over the last 4 seasons. Daniels Jewelers, making diamond dreams come true since 1948.
Last year, Michael Brantley hit .327. Previous year, .284, .288. The year before that, it was a real breakout season, as Brantley became one of the elite hitters in the game. Now Carlos Santana swings and fouls it back, and it's 0-1. Brantley was part of that big trade that sent CC Sabathia to the Brewers in 2008. He wasn't exactly the biggest name in that deal. Remember, Matt Laporta was the guy that everybody was raving about. As it turned out, it would be Brantley who would be the big deal of the big deal. Santana swings and misses as go down, pulls the string, and the count is 0-2. And that's where scouts are so important. Find a player 4 or 5 years down the road who may in fact turn out to be what a Brantley has become. No balls and 2 strikes. And here comes the pitch. Santana takes a call, strike 3 on the outside corner. At the knees, and all he can do is return to the dugout. Santana's been retired. 1 out, 1 on. Lonnie Chisenhall coming.
Trying to get those players and look at them for down the road and trying to make sure they get them before they are too far down the road.
1 out, 1 on. Again, the linchpin of that deal to send Santana, or rather Sabathia, to Milwaukee. Matt Laporta. And Laporta never did pan out. Now Chisenhall, who popped a third in his first at-bat. Dodgers with a 2-1 lead. We're in the bottom half of the 4th. Just a gentle breeze on this Saturday afternoon. 78 at game time. Chisenhall fouls it into the dirt, and the count is 0-1. Yan Gomes is on deck. So the Cleveland Indians, who figure to be right in the middle of the hunt in the American League Central Division this year, as they were last year. Last year they won 85 games, finished 5 behind the Tigers. Actually, that was a fall off from what they were the previous year. Won 92 in 2013. One of the issues for the Indians is drawing crowds. Ranked 29th in the league in attendance. Chisenhall checks his swing on a pitch that was up and in. And the count is 1-2. Gomes on deck, Murphy to follow. Pitch is under the knees to Lonnie Chisenhall, and the count is 2-2.
Yeah, trying to find out a way. I mean, economic structure of Cleveland has not helped the attendance. Remember that one stretch they had 455 consecutive sellouts with their new ballpark downtown.
And the architect behind that success was John Hart. Ball strike 3 to Chisenhall. I remember in the late 70s, early 80s, the Indians at Old Municipal Stadium.
The mistake on the lake?
Yeah. They'd get about 78,000 in that old concrete circular football stadium on opening day and average about 4,500 a night after that. There are a few times you go to a ball game and be lonely. But Gabe Paul and his general manager Phil Segman would say, if we can get a winner in this town, it's a sleeping giant. Now the runner goes, the pitch is low and outside. The throw to second base is not in time. So Michael Brantley, who stole 23 out of 24 last year, easily steals the base on Godin and Grandal.
Yeah, not a bad job by Grandal. Again, going back to Steve Yeager, talking with him the other night, Grandal's done a very good job in getting the ball, his footwork. Not a bad throw. Is not going to be in time to get the runner. It was caught by Howie Kendrick. The catchers, it is a constant work in progress to maintain the throwing and the footwork to go with it.
So with 2 out, the Indians have a runner in scoring position. Count 1-0 to Gomes, who flied to right in his first at bat. The Dodgers with a 2-1 lead. Swing and a miss, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. And so what John Hart did, and he really kind of revolutionized the way baseball clubs do business. He locked in many of his young players above and beyond their arbitration time and took away a year or 2 for free agency. So he had this boatload of talent as Gomes fouls it off to the left, and Uribe runs out of room. It's about 3 rows back. And one of those great young players is now the Indians' first base coach, Sandy Alomar Jr. And they had Jim Thome and a fellow named Manny Ramirez, Roberto Alomar, all coming up at the same time. Those young Indians teams, boy, they could draw a crowd. And so what happened really after Hart started locking in young players past arbitration a year or 2 into free agency. Again, it's a tough way to do business because you're not always going to make the best deal for the team. The player, of course, has got security and a lot of money. But those Indians teams that Hart constructed in the early 90s through the late 90s, they were a model franchise.
Well, they signed the players, extended contracts to get them on the front end and not have to pay dearly on the back end, trying to wrap it up and know exactly where they were going to be in another 2, 3, or 4 years.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Gomes. Godin deals, swung on and missed, strike 3, breaking ball down and away. That ends the inning. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. We'll go to the 5th. Dodgers and Indians are, well, Dodgers 2 and the Indians 1. On the Silverado and the all-new Chevy Colorado, the 2015 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Chevy trucks, high-strength steel for high-strength dependability. Only at your local SoCal Chevy dealer. Andre Ethier leads off against Zach McAllister, his second inning of relief. And Ethier fouls it off his foot, and the count is 0-1. Ethier flied to center. We're talking about that Indians team that in '94 was then Jacobs Field, now known as Progressive. This is their lineup. Lofton, Vizquel, Baerga, Albert Bell, Eddie Murray, Candy Maldonado, Sandy Alomar Jr., Manny Ramirez is hitting 7th, Mark Lewis, and then Dennis Martinez, Presidente, was the pitcher. A year later, Jim Thome was inserted into the lineup. Oh, those are some great teams. Now Ethier takes a ball inside. And the count is 2-1. We begin the 5th inning. Dodgers with a 2-1 lead. Dodgers have a left-hander warming up at the bullpen by the name of Jeremy Horst. Now McAllister on 2-1 to Ethier's inside and low. And it's 3-1. Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, same lineup. Left, right. Outside, ball 4, leadoff walk for Ethier here in the 5th. That's how you get 455 consecutive sellouts.
After being in that mysterious mausoleum for such a short period of time. I remember my rookie year towards the end of the season. You can actually count how many people were there, and if a vendor dropped a coin onto the concrete floor, from the third base visiting dugout, you could actually tell if it was a nickel, a dime, or a quarter by just the sound.
Juan Uribe is the batter. Ball outside, low, 1 ball, no strikes. Remember covering games there. Played 70s. Again, it's not uncommon to have 4,000 people in a stadium that fit 80,000. When the pitching coach went out to talk to the pitcher, you could hear the conversation from the press box. 1 ball, no strikes. Uribe pops it foul behind the play. And the count is 1-1. Scott Schebler is on deck.
Remember there was a sign, I think it was in the ballpark, up on a big marquee when Leon Wagner was playing there. Now, Leon had played with the Angels for a lot of years, but he played with the Indians. And there was a sign up that says, and he owned a clothing store. And the sign said, "Buy your rags from Daddy Wags."
Here's the 1-1. Uribe ground ball right side into right field for a base hit. Ethier is on his way to third, and the throw is not going to get him. David Murphy with the throw. Ethier never stopped. It wasn't particularly hard hit. Just well placed to the left of second baseman Jason Kipnis. So the Dodgers have first and third and nobody out.
That's where, as a runner at first base, that ball's hit behind you. You're going to pick up that third base coach before you get to the second base bag, before you start to make that turn. Everybody gets the base hit, he'll give way to a pinch runner.
Buck Britton is pinch running for Juan Uribe. So Ethier is at third, Britton is at first, nobody out. And Scott Schebler, who's single to right in his first at-bat, coming up. He takes a strike, and it's 0-1. Schebler is 5 for 9 this spring. Continues to open eyes, and youngster Darnell Sweeney in the on-deck circle. McAllister in a pickle, first and third. Pitch is grounded foul into the stands down the first base line, and the count is 0-2. Remembering old Municipal Stadium, and you may remember The guy with the big bass drum out in left field. His name was John Adams. And he'd be pounding it all game, even with nobody there. And he became kind of an institution in town. Schebler takes a call, strike 3. And it's the first out of the inning. Schebler down on strikes. And boom, boom, boom. It was the ultimate good news and bad news. Good news is we got free tickets to the Indians. Bad news is you're sitting next to John Adams. He became so much a part of Indians lore that when they moved over to Jacobs Field, now known as Progressive, he came along with it.
Much to the chagrin of people that had season tickets in front of that area.
But he met his wife, as story goes, out there in the left field bleachers. There's a fly ball well hit to center field. Naquin to left center, taps it down, makes the catch. Ethier tags and scores. So Darnell Sweeney with a sacrifice fly knocks in a run, and the Dodgers take a 3-1 lead.
Pre-game we talked about some of the younger players, and for Sweeney picks up the sacrifice fly, just getting the little things done, doing the little things. I'm not asking you to do extraordinarily great things here in spring training, but you're going to impress the manager and the coaches in the front office by doing the things that are required.
So we were selling them in the pregame about Scott Schebler, who has 1 for 2, and Darnell Sweeney, who has just knocked in a run with the sac fly. Should do that more often. 2 out, and Jimmy Rollins, his third at bat of the game. He's 0 for 2, popped to short and bounced into a double play. Dodgers now with a 3-1 lead. Alex Guerrero is on deck. Rollins, switch hitter, batting for the left side. Outfield is straight away. Short lead at first for Buck Britton. Running for Uribe. Uribe's day is done. '36-year-old Jimmy Rollins. 2 for 6 this spring. McAllister set at the belt. Rollins takes high and outside. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. McAllister getting the sign from Yan Gomes. Fly ball, center field, but right at Tyler Naquin. There to make the catch, and that'll end the inning. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 left. After 4.5, Dodgers 3-1. started to make some changes. The new shortstop is Corey Seager. Jeremy Horst is the new pitcher for the Dodgers. 45 appearances last year at AAA, 3 starts, an ERA of just under 4, and opposing hitters hit .234 against him, a lefty. Pitching change brought to you by In-N-Out Burger. No freezers, no microwaves, no heat lamps ever. At In-N-Out Burger, when it comes to burgers, fries, and shakes, always fresh is the only way. Why not stop in after the game? David Murphy leading off here in the 5th inning. No balls and 1 strike, and he strokes one into right field, and it's going to be tracked down in right field by Travis Witherspoon, just inserted into the game. Witherspoon began his day on the backfield for the Dodgers. He saw live pitches from Hyun-Jin Ryu. Jeremy Hazelbaker, probably coming into the game a little bit later on, was also part of the threesome that watched Ryu work and had a hit against him. And by all accounts, Ryu was fine. Got a chance to watch half of that BP session, and all things being equal, looked sharp, felt good. So Murphy leading it off for the Indians in the 5th. Of course, with a line drive into right center field, and that's going to drop in for a base hit. Matt Carson is the new center fielder for the Dodgers. So we are reaching that portion of the program, Mo.
Have your pencils and scorecards ready, and if needed, erasers.
So that's a given.
Large erasers.
One out, one on. And Tyler Naquin is the batter. Naquin with a fly ball into right field.
Guerrero playing in left field, they're trying to find a position for him, and quite frankly, it was rather impressive. He shielded his eyes with the glove, but he had to, because he's very conveniently placed his sunglasses above the bill of his cap. Well, his cap's not squinting, but he is.
And looking good.
That is a mystery.
I remember a scout describing one player who shall remain named. Said, well, he wears his sunglasses on the bill of his cap during the day, but puts them on at 10 o'clock at night when the game is over. Here's a fly ball into short left field. Now drifting in, then a step out. Guerrero makes the catch, and that ends the inning. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. We'll go to the 6th. Dodgers 3-1. The Dodgers 3 runs and 5 hits. The Indians 1 run and 4 base hits. And Alex Guerrero will be leading it off for the Dodgers. Guerrero's first at bat of the game. He is now 6 for 8 as he singles into left field. What a spring he has had, at least we should say. What a first week of the spring. But he's hitting the ball right on the screws every time.
Swinging, making contact, exactly what the Dodgers want him to do. The question is going to be, when does he find a position? Originally a shortstop, and which was a little shocking because we saw him last year, the very first game in spring training here, playing at second base, and he was really not fleet of foot.
Adrian Gonzalez takes a ball under the knees, 1-0.
I thought, well, he's moving to the other side of the infield, which is a totally different look. There are different responsibilities. I thought, well, maybe that was the reason, but it just did not seem fluid at all at second base.
And so this spring, the Dodgers have been flirting with, well, maybe they'll play some third base and maybe some outfield. They'd like to find room for that bat. Gonzalez today is 0 for 2, is struck out and bounced to short. Guerrero, short lead at first. Here's the pitch to Gonzalez. Fly ball, left field, slicing toward the corner, drops in for a base hit. Off the sidewall, Guerrero rounding third, being sent home by Lorenzo Bundy. And he will arrive without a throw. Standing at second base is Adrian Gonzalez, who knocked in 116 runs last year to lead the National League. Knocks in a run here in the 6th, and the Dodgers lead 4-1.
Charlie, we've been talking over the first few days about, okay, for runners, give your third base coach opportunity to make a decision to move you around. This ball hit down the left field line as Gonzalez went with the pitch. But Guerrero gave Lorenzo Bundy something to work with by running to third base hard, and Lorenzo just gave him the green light to continue.
Kyle Jensen now pinch running for Gonzalez. Yasmani Grandal, likely his last at-bat, takes a strike, 0-1. In his previous at-bat, Grandal is 2 for 2 today, homered the other way to left field. So the Dodgers have a 4-1 lead. McAllister deals. Grandal, big swing. Fouls it back to the screen, and it's 0-2. If you'd gotten into your car when the game began, you could have listened to the broadcast and already be at Chumash Casino Resort, located in the beautiful Santa Barbara wine country 2 hours north of Los Angeles. For more information, visit ChumashCasino.com. Grandal, another big rip. Fouls it back.
That was a little bit longer stride on that one. Home run that he hit the left field was a shorter stride. They have that leg kick to begin with. The question is, it's not bad to have a leg kick, but you have to make sure that your foot gets back down on the ground in plenty enough time.
Now the 0-2, Grandal fouls it back.
And Yasmani just kind of picks up the right foot. Looks as if he's still trying to keep the right toe on the ground. Batting from the left side now, the switch hitter.
Kyle Jensen running for Gonzalez at second base. The 0-2. High ball, left center field. That one is well hit. That one is on its way. It's high off the wall. It's going to be a double. Jensen will score without a throw. Grandal, not going to be a double. He's thrown out at second base. It was a perfect ricochet off the wall, a perfect relay throw, and Grandal is out at second. Missed a home run by a couple of feet. Drives in the run, out at second. Second run of the 6th inning, and the Dodgers lead 5-1.
We've got a lot of baseball games to play this year, 2015. This will be labeled as one of the longest singles you'll see all year long. And for the Indians, a good relay and bang, bang play at second.
So Grandal out at second.
Charlie, Grandal gives the Dodgers also some flexibility. Obviously the switch hitter, but doing some batting, something the Dodgers did not get from catchers last year.
Between A.J. Ellis and Drew Butera, They both hit under 200.
Yeah. Oh, it was a major league low. Combined catchers of the Dodgers, 181 was all that they hit combined last year. Lowest in the major leagues.
Now, Asdrubal Cabrera, Ari Albarrena. Talk about Asdrubal Cabrera, former Indian shortstop earlier in the day. Albarrena is the hitter. And it's 2 balls and a strike, his first at bat. Arena swings and misses, and the count is 2-2. We talked about Carl Crawford earlier fouling one off his foot, a bruised right shin. So he came out and was replaced. Arena with a fly ball to center, and catch is made by Tyler Naquin. Arena is retired. There's 2 outs. So they took x-rays on Crawford's right shin. No x-rays. They just took them out.
Boy, it is amazing. You look at the inside of your shin. There's not any meat there. It is remarkable. Shocking, in fact, how fast it can swell up if you foul a ball off your shin.
Ethier with a ground ball base hit in the right field. A 2-out single to right. I remember it was about 10 years ago or so. Jermaine Dye when he fouled it off his shin and nearly ended his career.
Todd Hollinsworth, formerly with the Dodgers, was with the Colorado Rockies. He had fouled 2 or 3 balls off of his right shin. It was a left-handed batter. And there was a question there for a while because the bone was so bruised, so damaged, that they had actually at one time the word amputate had been considered. Fortunately, that was not the case. It took him a long, long time to come back.
Now Buck Britton's first at bat, and on the first swing, he flies it into short left field. So Brantley is there to make the catch, and that'll end the inning. But the Dodgers come up with 2 runs, 4 hits, and leave 1. After 5.5, they lead the Indians 5-1. Your special group, whether it's a company outing, celebrating a birthday, or raising money for a cause, do it there at Dodger Stadium and you'll receive great savings, experience special benefits, and share Dodger memories together. Group tickets start as low as $10. Visit Dodgers.com/groups. Jeremy Horst beginning his 2nd inning of relief for the Dodgers. Chad Godin went a couple of innings, gave up no runs, 1 hit, and struck out 3. Horst delivers a strike, 0-2 to Eric Gonzalez, who is making his first plate appearance in the Red Sox. Foul off to the right and out of play. Gonzalez to lead it off. Brantley on deck. It looks like Santana's going to get one more at bat. Fastball upstairs from Horst. And the count is 1-2. Down at the Indian dugout, just beneath us, down the first base line. Right over the railing, our old friend Harry Franco, who you remember as a little boy.
Remember as a kid, because his father Tito, I think it was his last year at the major league level. He was with then the Oakland A's.
A 2-2 on the way. Under the knees, 3-2.
So there was this youngster named Terry Francona, and we would play catch every day. Say, hey, kid, want to play catch? Well, a couple of years ago, my son was in a coaching convention in Orlando, and I saw Terry.
Inside and low ball for Gonzalez, a leadoff walk in the 6th.
And he was leaving the hotel where the convention was being held, and there's about 20 people around him. And I walked up behind him. I said, come on, Mike, we'll go over and we'll talk to him. I said, hey, kid, want to play catch? And he turned around and goes, Rick, how are you? One of the nice people. And you can only wonder about Terry Francona. Had he had healthy knees, he's had, 11 surgeries, something like that on his knee?
He is signed with the Indians as their manager through 2018. It's where he wants to be, where they want him. He's one of those difference maker managers. Michael Brantley, 1 ball, no strikes. Brantley is 1 for 2. The Dodgers lead it 5-1. We're in the bottom of the 6th, and Horst misses high and outside. 2-0. I don't know if this is going to make you feel old or young. Terry's now 55. Good people.
He's still a kid.
Well, he ain't going to catch up. Carlos Santana in the on-deck circle. The Dodgers with a run in the 1st, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, and 2 in the 6th. Of course, delivers a strike to Brantley.
Terry Francona has also been very loyal. His teammate at University of Arizona and his roommate Brad Mills, still a coach with him. By the way, his dad Tito, one of the nicest people you could find.
Ground ball, right side, base hit into right field. Gonzalez will hold at second base. Travis Witherspoon quickly gets it back into the infield. The Indians have first and second. And nobody out, and a pinch runner. Destin Hood is pinch running for Michael Brantley. And here comes Carlos Santana. In July of 2008, Dodgers made what turned out to be a very big deal for them for the next couple of years, getting Casey Blake from the Indians for Santana and John Malone. Santana, switch hitter, batting from the right side now. Takes outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. And shortly after the arrival of Casey Blake, a fellow named Manny Ramirez came on. Fouled off to the right and out of play. This Dodger team off and running. Casey Blake, almost from the moment he arrived in the Dodger clubhouse, became one of the team leaders. Big fella from Iowa. was one of the guys that everybody went to.
He was also one of those humble people because Casey Blake, even though he spent some time at the major league level, even when he joined the Dodgers, been around for a while. He said, I still marvel every day that I'm at the major league level.
Now the 2-2 on the way. Santana swings and just gets a piece of it and fouls it back.
And it was that humility along with the knowledge of the game that really made him pleasant to be around and a very good guiding light for younger players.
Now, memory serves, he was at the minor league level for about 8 or 9 years.
8 years.
So he had to know all of the nuances of the game. He didn't get by strictly on his talent. Santana rolls it foul at the third base line.
You know, and really those guys that spend 8 years. I mean, Maury Wills, for example, spent, 8.5 years at the minor league level. And I know more in conversations with the former captain. There are many that you're in the minor leagues for such a period of time, you actually have to do even more to impress than maybe the guy that's in his second or third year, because they say, well, he's been at the minor league level for a lot of years, therefore there's a lot of things that maybe he can't do.
There's got to be something wrong. Here's the 2-2. Santana takes low and outside. Austin Barnes is the new Dodger catcher now. Count. It's 3-2 with runners at first and second, nobody out. Chinwe Sao is warming up in the Dodger bullpen. Now the 3-2 on the way. Santana swings and misses. Struck out. Horse first strikeout. Second time Santana's gone down on the strikes.
Horace is telling this story when he first came up. He was going to make his debut. It was with the Reds, and his manager was Dusty Baker. And Baker said, look, don't get wrapped up with the name on the back of the uniform. He said, it didn't really hit me till after I made my major league appearance and I was back at the hotel after the game. He goes, then I got the shakes.
Well, Horse Day is done. Mattingly comes out to get him. And we're going to take a break here on the Dodger Radio Network. 1 out, 2 on, bottom half of the 6th. It's the Dodgers 5 and the Indians 1. Dodgers a few years back. And he will be facing Ryan Rollinger, making his first plate appearance of the day. Jeremy Horst goes an inning and a third to this point. No runs, 2 hits, and a walk. 2 base runners are his responsibility. Rollinger, right-handed pitcher. Ground ball slowly hit to short, steps on the bag, throws the first double play. Corey Seager, the ball tipped off the glove of Sal, so it changed direction just a little bit, but right essentially in the area of second base. Seager was able to step on the bag, fire to first, 1 pitch, 2 outs, inning over. No runs and a hit. We go to the 7th. Dodgers 5-1. New pitcher for the Indians as we begin the 7th inning, Charles Brewer. We're in the top of the 7th, and if you're not in the stadium, you can bring home the taste of the Dodgers' world-famous Chef Burrito loaded nachos by driving to Ralph's and then buying Chef Burrito's carne asada. Brewer between AA and AAA last year, a starter, 29 of them, a record of 11 and 12, an ERA of about 4.5, and opposing hitters hitting .278 against him. Indians have a new first baseman by the name of Audie Suriaco. And Ryan Rollinger is the new third baseman. And Matt Carson is leading it off for the Dodgers here in the 7th. He takes up and in, 1 ball and no strikes. Corey Seager in the on-deck circle. Carson takes high and in, and it's 2-0.
Well, the change. Carlos Moncrief is now in right field for the Cleveland Indians as well.
Taking over for David Murphy. Well, these are the days in the spring where you have to have an industrial strength eraser for your scorebook. Carson takes a strike on the inside corner. 2 balls, 2 strikes as we begin the 7th inning. Brewer, right-hander, into the wide. Here's the pitch. Swinging a foul off to the left and out of play. So Jeremy Horst goes an inning in the 3rd for the Dodgers. No runs and 2 hits. Jingwei Sao threw all of 1 pitch, got 2 outs. And nobody warming in the bullpen, so we'll see Sao more than likely in the bottom of the 7th. Pop up at the short right field. And Carlos Moncrief just inserted into the game. Sprints in, makes the catch, calling off the second baseman, Eric Gonzalez. That's the first out of the 7th. Corey Seager, his first at-bat of the day.
What's been impressive about Seager is pitch recognition.
He's 1 for 4 and 4 walks. And he takes high and away, 1 ball and no strikes. Just as you watch him play with a bat in his hand or a glove, nothing seems to come too quickly at him. Swinging a grounder foul at the first base line. And it's 1-1.
He's not down on the end of the bat, not down on the knob. There's about an inch between the bottom of his right hand, the heel of the right hand, and the knob of the bat. He just feels more comfortable and says he has better back control.
6'4" and about 210, 215. Here's the 1-1. Outside 2-1.
Interesting to watch the defense, because the Indians from the minor leagues, they feel that they've got a shot. They've gone away from him, and they're playing him the opposite way in the outfield as well.
The right fielder Moncrief, the deepest of the 3. And there's Seager taking outside in low 3-1.
That's what's fun. I think about watching a game. What's the defensive alignment? And why is the defensive alignment? Obviously, they've got some Indians that have played against him at other levels, that being Seager.
Seager swings and fouls it off to the left. And it is out of play. Third baseman Rollinger sprinting down the third base line near the tarp and ran out of room. Three balls, 2 strikes, and 1 out in the 7th. Dodgers lead 5-1. Brewer deals, and Seager swings and misses. He's been struck out.
Brewer took something off of it. Seager just swinging over the top of the ball.
So 2 out, nobody on. Travis Witherspoon, his first at-bat of the day. Jimmy Rollins Leadoff hitter today went 0 for 3, a swing and a foul tip. A piece of home plate umpire Pat Hooper. Easy for us to say it was a little piece. Witherspoon at A-ball, 252 with 15 home runs. Mentioned earlier, began the day he was taking live pitches from Hyun-Jin Ryu. Ryu pitched for about 10 or 15 minutes with a 4-minute break and came out none the worse for wear. Witherspoon swings and misses. He's been struck out, and Brewer retires the Dodgers in order. 7th inning stretch now. Dodgers 5 and the Indians 1. You can still guarantee your seat for opening day. Many plans still available that include opening day game. All 10 bobbleheads, fireworks nights, 4th of July, and Father's Day barbecue set, and a Tommy Lasorda garden gnome, and many more great promotions you won't want to miss this summer. Visit Dodgers.com/mini-plans. Jimmy Sal, his first pitch, the bottom of the 7th, is outside and low, 1 ball and no strikes. And he is facing Brett Hayes, the catcher who replaced Yan Gomes. Playing in a fly ball into short right field. Travis Witherspoon is there, makes the catch. Witherspoon with a very good first step on his way to make an easy play. 1 out. And we'll pause here. 10 seconds for station identification on the Dodgers radio network. Ballpark. We're about 15-20 minutes away from Glendale, where the Dodgers call home in spring. The Dodgers have a 5-1 lead in the bottom half of the 7th with 1 out. And Carlos Moncrief getting his first at-bat. He's a left-handed hitter. The Dodgers 5 runs and 9 hits. The Indians 1 run and 5 base hits. Sal delivers, and Moncrief takes outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Mike Bolsinger began the day for the Dodgers. 2 innings, a run and 2 hits. Chad Gaudin, 2 solid innings, no runs and a hit, 3 strikeouts. Pat Gaudin struck out the side in the 4th. Jeremy Horst went an inning and a third, no runs and 2 hits. And now Chin-Wei Sao is the Dodgers' 4th pitcher of the day. Corey Kluber began the day for the Indians, the Cy Young Award winner. His first start of the spring went 3 innings, a run and 3 hits. Zach McAllister came in, 3 innings, 4 runs and 6 hits by the Dodgers. Sal delivers a strike, and it's 1-2 to Carlos Moncrief, with Jerry Sands, the former Dodger, in the on-deck circle for the Indians. Sal getting the sign from Austin Barnes, and here's the pitch. High and outside. It's 2-2.
Sal, a lot of twisting and turning, and he'll change speeds and change arms angle.
He is the 4th Dodger pitcher of the day. Tomorrow, Brandon McCarthy makes his Dodger debut. The Brewers come over to Camelback. Mike Fiers pitches for Milwaukee. If the name Fiers sounds familiar, he was the fella who struck Giancarlo Stanton in the face with that pitch last year. Swing and a miss, and Moncrief beaten on an off-speed pitch. That's the first out of the bottom of the 7th.
Sal just turned the ball over, changed speeds a little bit. And for Moncrief, a wave and a miss. What would have been outside off the plate of ball.
Crowd today of 8,537. Just a picture-perfect Saturday afternoon. 78 at game time. Still haven't seen a cloud overhead. Jerry Sands, 1 for 2. Right-handed hitter. Sal delivers. Swinging a foul off to the right and out of play. And it's 1 ball, 1 strike.
I'm just looking at the numbers of Jerry Sands. We mentioned when he came up with the Dodgers, that was 2011. He played in 61 games, had, well, just less, 2 at-bats shy of 200. Still drove in 26 runs.
Seemed like it was like the first week. Well, when he came up, he was a house of fire and became, at least for a week or two, the talk of baseball. And Dodger fans may remember whenever he came up or even went into the outfield, the crowd would scream, Jerry, Jerry. Swing and a miss on a pitch that was up and in, and the count is 2-2 to Jerry Sands. But he has bounced around since. Now hoping to hang his hat in Cleveland. Here's a 2-2. Sands swings and misses, and he's been struck out. So Sal comes in and retires a side in order. We'll go to the 8th inning. Dodgers 5, Indians 1. .5-1 Dodgers, MLB.TV Premium. the #1 live streaming sports service now available. Join the millions of subscribers and watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit MLB.tv for details. Alex Guerrero leading it off and taking the ball down and in. 1 ball, no strikes. Guerrero with a base hit today. He's 6 for 8 this spring. And a fly ball to right field. Hey, that's well hit. Back at the wall, Moncrief tracks it down. Nearly 380 feet from home plate. That ball continued to carry. There is no wind whatsoever. That was all the muscle of Guerrero, who narrowly missed it.
Yeah, and that ball was up and away. Moncrief took a very, well, a walk in the park type of a route to get that ball. If he's being tailed, I think he was able to shake it off. He went back over and turns into a very nice play. He ran a long, long distance.
And now Kyle Jensen, his first at bat, takes a strike, 0-1. If there are teams that are looking for a hitter, I imagine the scouts are going to start honing in on Alex Guerrero and what he's doing this spring.
Well, there are scouts down below us behind home plate. Many of them radar guns in hand.
Jensen takes outside. 2-1. And Jensen, right-handed hitter, takes up and in. And it's 3-1.
By my count, you're just looking down about 15 or 16 scouts.
The 3-1 on the way. Foul back and out of play. Count is 3-2. Monday, April 6th, the Dodgers and Padres open for real at Dodger Stadium. And this is Saturday, March the 7th. Don't forget to change your clock tomorrow. Jensen with a fly ball to center field. Shielding his eyes is Naquin, and he'll make the catch. 2 out. Brilliant blue sky. Not a cloud overhead. Now Austin Barnes getting his first at-bat of the spring. I'm sorry, of the game. Barnes is 0 for 3. Came over in the deal from the Marlins, and a strike, 0-1. Foul off to the right and out of play, and the count is 0-2. 2 out, top of the 8th. Dodgers lead 5-1. Arizbel Arabarena is on deck. No balls, 2 strikes. Brewer, the third Indian pitcher of the day. This is outside and low, 1-2. Dodgers face the Brewers tomorrow. Pre-game 12:30, first pitch 1:05. Simulcast begins at 1 o'clock on Sportsnet LA. And Barnes swings and misses and has been struck out, and that ends the top of the 8th. Nothing across for the Dodgers. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Dodgers 5 and the Indians 1. To the Dodgers. Has faced 4 batters and gotten 5 outs. Has struck out 2, and he begins pitching here in the bottom of the 8th against Tyler Naquin. Naquin is 0 for 2. Bunts it in the air. Sprinting down the third baseline, Austin Barnes comes up a couple of feet short of a little pop foul. Buck Britton, the Dodger third baseman, came sprinting over as well, and thankfully no collision. Francisco Lindor is on deck. Dodgers with a run in the first, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, and 2 in the 6th. Grandal with 3 hits today. Ground ball base hit into center field. A leadoff single for Tyler Naquin here in the bottom of the 8th.
Naquin was doing a good job last year in the Double-A area, and then he was hit on the hand with a pitch, broken hand, and he did not play after that particular play. He's going to be an interesting guy to keep their eyes on as far as the Indians.
Well, he's a young prospect that they think a lot of, and so too is a fellow stepping into the batter's box, Francisco Lindor, who's already established himself as a terrific defender at short, and they think he is going to be the Indian shortstop. It's just a matter of time.
He was rated as the best shortstop in minor league baseball last year.
Just over 20 years of age.
Yeah. And I was at AAA. He was there at 20.
Well, the Indians, we were talking earlier in the game, were statistically the worst defensive team in baseball last year. 118 errors. Lindor, good rip, fouls it off to the left. Count is 0-2, and gave up 72 unearned runs. And those are the errors. Unless you've got the fan graphs and all that other stuff. Can't even begin to fathom how many balls they did not get to. And Lindor, big swing, fouls it back.
Sometimes you look at fielding percentages and they don't really tell the true story as to the overall effectiveness of a player. And there's some guys around for the infield and middle infielders in particular. Well, they don't make that many errors. They don't get to that many baseballs.
Now Lindor swings and misses. And he has been struck out. Meanwhile, Chin-Wei Sao has turned in a very nice performance.
Well, he just changed different arm angles and he moves the ball around. He'll cut it, he'll spin it, he'll slide it all over the place, then change speeds.
Question about Lindor, how will he hit at the major league level defensively? He is already major league ready, they say. Eric Gonzalez with 2 out and 1 out in the runner at first base. Sao deals high and outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Five runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 6 hits for the Indians. Cleveland with 1 on, 1 out, bottom of the 8th. Sao deals inside. And it's 2-0. Well, the Texas Rangers, they didn't have enough bad luck last year. Looking like their ace, Yu Darvish, may need Tommy John surgery. Here's the 2-0. Ground ball, comebacker. Sao double pumps, throws to second, on to first, double play. So Chin-Wei Sao has pitched 2 2/3 innings and induced 2 double plays. No runs, 1 hit, nobody left. We'll go to the 9th. The Dodgers lead the Indians 5-1. center fielder by the name of Jordan Smith. The Dodgers have a lead of 5-1. This afternoon's Chumash Casino Resort 9th inning jackpot contestant James Myers. If the Dodgers win, James wins a free stay-and-play getaway at the Chumash Casino Resort, located 2 hours north of LA in the Santa Barbara wine country. James will get a free night stay plus $100 in free slot play. Enter to win by going to am570radio.com. Rizbel Arabareno leads it off for the Dodgers in the ninth. Okoye Dixon on deck. Buck Britton to follow. And Roth's first pitch is down and away, 1 ball and no strikes. Roth with the Angels last year. Signed as a free agent over the winter. 7 appearances out of the bullpen for the Angels for Roth. 12 earned runs in 12 1/3 innings. So he needed a change of scenery. And hopefully Cleveland will turn out to be a nicer place than Anaheim.
Roth may be too bright for this game. He was a double major.
Roth delivers a strike to Arabarena, and the count is 3-1.
International business and marketing. His minor was Spanish. University of South Carolina.
3-1, Arabarena. Fly ball, right field, well hit, but Moncrief headed toward right center, cuts it off, makes the catch, first out of the 9th inning.
Roth, by the way, in that double major, a 3.83 GPA.
That's all.
Shouldn't have any trouble getting the signs.
1 out, and here's Okoye Dixon, who has had a good start to this spring. From my point of view, watching this club this week, the story has not been so much the arrival of Rollins and Kendrick and the like. It's been the play of all the youngsters. Okoye Dixon being one of them, with 2 home runs and a double.
We'll find out as spring training goes along, because quite frankly the game does change a little bit towards the back end of spring training, because that's when the breaking balls from the pitchers start to be utilized a little bit more often.
And the other thing is you've got guys at the back end of these games from the 5th inning on. A ball players, double A, triple A. As you get closer and closer toward opening day, the quality of the pitching gets better, and you can make a little better judgment. And a ground ball to short. Lindor picks it up. He displays a powerful throwing arm. Dixon is retired, 2 out.
Hardest thing in the world is to look at spring training talent for younger players and to try to remain somewhat neutral. Oh, look at how they're going about their job. Look how they play. Are they fundamentally sound? Are they thinking about things? But the numbers themselves do not become overly enamored or disgusted by some of the numbers, quite frankly.
Well, the old cliche is rarely do you judge the talent of a young player by what he does in March or in September after the call-ups. Now Buck Britton, left-handed batter, takes a strike, 0-1. 2 out, top of the 9th, Dodgers 5-1. Matt Shelton is warming up in the Dodger bullpen. We'll be seeing him in the 9th for the first time. Britton came in and pinch ran for Juan Uribe. Uribe 1 for 2 this afternoon. Roth, he of the double major. Line drive, base hit into left field.
Well, he of the double major tried to drop down. He went Laredo style with a breaking ball, but like they also taught him in that double major, the 3.83 GPA. If you hang a breaking ball, it does not matter the arm angle.
That'll learn him real good.
Britton very, very wise again. It's one of the players that maybe you're not having on the radar screen. Breaking ball from a left-hander out away from you. Drive it the opposite direction. Did it well.
Matt Carson is the batter, and he fouls it back, and there's nothing in one. Buck Britton has played 7 minor league seasons. First with the Orioles, and here he is now with the Dodgers. So he's a minor league free agent. He's at first base. And now Carson pops it foul down the first base line, retreating Audie Suriaco to make the catch, and that will end the inning. We go to the bottom of the ninth, and the Dodgers have a 5-1 lead. A 5-1 lead. It's Matt Shelton between Rancho Cucamonga and Chattanooga last year. Combined for a 3.79 ERA. Opponents hit 2.49 against him. He made 35 appearances, 16 starts, a 24th round pick in 2011. Big fella, 6'4" and 205. So he is on to close it down for the Dodgers, who have never trailed in this game. They scored a run in the first. A Crawford single to right, stole second, and Yasmani Grandal with the first of 3 base hits knocked home Crawford. Grandal also homered and singled to center, so 2 RBIs and 3 hits for Yasmani Grandal today. Destin Hood is leading it off for the Indians in the ninth, and Shelton misses high and inside, 1 ball and no strikes. Really about the only blemish on the day. Carl Crawford fouled one off his shin, came out of the game precautionary. He was walking around after the game, iced down and all that. And they asked him how he was doing. He said, "I'll let you know tomorrow." Hood, right-handed hitter. Takes high and inside, nearly got hit. 2 balls and no strikes. Audie Suriaco is on deck. Shelton delivers a fastball for a strike. That is 3-1. Back with you tomorrow. Again, don't forget to move the clocks forward, spring ahead, fall back. Brandon McCarthy, Mike Fires from Camelback Ranch. Foul back directly over our heads. And the count is 3-2. So the Brewers and Dodgers tomorrow. Radio pregame 12:30. Simulcast begins at 1. First pitch at 1:05. Three balls, two strikes. Shelton deals. Line drive into right field is going to drop in front of Travis Witherspoon. A leadoff single for Destin Hood here in the ninth. Now Audie Suriaco. Now to San Pedro de Macorís. Six, 3, and 2 1/4. Right-handed hitter takes a strike, 0-1. Played at AAA last year. Columbus is where the Indians AAA club is these days. Hit .255, 15 home runs, and 70 runs batted in. Swing and a miss, badly fooled on a breaking ball. Foul tipped it into the glove of Austin Barnes. And the count is 0-2.
Yeah, good breaking ball, and Siriaco just pulled off of it. Didn't track it particularly well.
On 0-2, Shelton deals, and Siriaco plays off that breaking ball. 1-2. Broken bat, looper into left field for a base hit. Rolling into the corner. And arriving at second base is Siriaco. Hood goes to third. The head of the bat must have traveled about 100 feet into the stands.
Bat explodes. Fortunately, it fell harmlessly. Camberwell just passed the Dodgers far into their third base dugout.
Now Ryan Rollinger coming up. Second and third, nobody out. Dodgers lead 5-1. Shelton delivers a strike, and it's 0-1. Brett Hayes is on deck. Shelton misses outside. And the count is 1-1. Shelton with runners at second and third, misses inside. 2 balls and a strike. Well, tomorrow it's the Brewers, and on Monday, the Dodgers and the Giants from Scottsdale. Two and 1. There's a pass ball through the heart of the plate. Count is 2-2. Giants suffer a big blow, the broken forearm of Hunter Pence. Going to keep him out a couple of months. Here's a 2-2. Just outside and low 3 and.
They didn't miss by much. A good idea.
Dodgers have bullpen activity just in case. Leading at 5-1 in the bottom of the ninth. The Indians second and third, and nobody out. Shelton set, collarbone high. Here's a pitch, line down the left field line and into the stands. Blake Smith is a Dodger that's warming up in the bullpen. Right-hander. Three balls and 2 strikes. High ball, left field, on its way, and it is gone, a home run. Ryan Rollinger, a 3-run home run. That's got the Indians to within 1. It's 5-4.
Indians the last couple of years, 22 walk-off victories. And last year, extra innings, 13-8. So they were a come-from-behind ball club. And if they could get it into extra innings, they won more often than they lost.
Well, Rick Honeycutt's going to go out and try to settle the nerves of young Mr. Shelton. Well, whatever he said quickly. So now Brett Hayes is the batter. Last year the Dodgers were 6, and there's a fly ball to left field. That is well hit, and that is gone, a home run. The Indians have tied it in the bottom of the ninth. A 3-run home run by Ryan Rollinger, followed by a solo shot by Brett Hayes. The Dodgers and Indians are now tied at 5.
I can guarantee you what Rick Honeycutt did not say was to hang a breaking ball. So Honeycutt has had his say. Don Mattingly will have his say as well, but that is a hanging breaking ball that is absolutely crushed.
Hold the dinner reservations. We're going to take a break. The Indians with 4 in the bottom of the ninth. Back-to-back home runs. A 3-run shot for Ryan Rollinger. A solo shot for Brett Hayes. We are tied at 5. Dodgers signed him as a free agent last month. He was with the Red Sox in 2010 and for 3 games in 2009, and outside of that he's been down on the farm last year. 36 appearances, of which 3 were starts in Salt Lake. And his numbers there were not particularly good. 3-3 and an ERA of 7.69. 52 2/3 innings, 45 earned runs. So that is the tale of Dustin Richardson. He wasn't expecting to do a whole lot of work today, but that all changed as Matt Shelton came undone here in the bottom of the ninth. Carlos Moncrief, the hitter, swings and fouls it back, and it's 0-1. A fellow named Zach Walters in the on-deck circle to pinch hit for Jerry Sands. A single, a double, and 2 home runs for the Indians here in the ninth. Moncrief swings and fouls it back. And the count is 0-2. Four in the bottom of the ninth for the Indians, and we are tied at 5. Richardson misses outside. And it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Richardson, big left-hander, pitches out of the stretch and a pop-up into left center field. In left field, Alex Guerrero is there to make the catch. And that at long last is the first out of the bottom of the ninth.
Not been really a textbook inning. A single, a broken bat double, a 3-run home run on the first pitch, a hanging breaking ball, and Brett Hayes, a home run, tie game.
And here's Zach Walters, his first at bat of the day. Yeah, a call strike to Walters, and it's 0-1. Walters, between his time in Washington and Cleveland, hit under 200 last year. He swings and misses, and it's 0-2.
Maybe the exception of the Cleveland Indian pitcher that has been warming up the bullpen. Everybody else on either side may be saying, hey, look, swing hard. In case you hit it, it might go out. Just thinking that on the Cleveland side.
One and 2, 1 out. Richardson deals and Walters takes high and away. And it's 2-2. Again, this is another one of those reasons why you don't look at one-loss records of spring training teams. Outside and low, it's 3-2. There goes the Phillies, for instance, out here now for both teams. Doesn't look like any of them are likely to be at the major league level when the season begins. Here's a 3-2, high ball 4. Well, we just got word this is the final inning, no matter what. So it will be either an Indian win or a tie. Jordan Smith is the batter, and this is his first plate appearance. Can only imagine what Matt Shelton is thinking in field. Here he had his first chance to show his stuff. Single, a double, 3-run home run. Next pitch, another home run. This can be a game that could just rip your heart out. 0-1, high and inside. 1 ball, 1 strike to Jordan Smith with Francisco Lindor on deck. Now Austin Barnes is going to go out and talk to Richardson. And now Stan Conti is going out. It looks like there may be something wrong with Richardson. Mattingly's coming out as well. Just looking at the body language of Richardson, who's looking at his shoes right now. Conti is talking with him. Now Richardson leaning over. His hands on his knees.
Looking at his right knee area. Well, if you got something in your delivery that's bothering you, there's no way that you can really continue. Now Mattingly's pointing into the dugout, I think, to Rick Honeycutt about, look, we need to get somebody warmed up, and that's exactly what we're going to see now.
Richardson walking off slowly toward the third base dugout alongside trainer Stan Conti. The Dodgers, this is a game that seemingly can never end.
First 8 innings were fine, and the ninth inning, the wheels have fallen off the buggy.
Not so good. New pitcher coming in. We'll tell you who he is when we come back. 5-5, 1 out, bottom half of the ninth. Blake Smith looking out at the Dodger bullpen. There is nobody out there, not even a bullpen catcher. They have cleared the decks. This is the final inning, no matter what. Smith last year, between A and Double A, at Chattanooga and Rancho Cucamonga. 48 appearances, a 3.82 ERA, and opposing hitters hit .245 against him. A second-round pick in 2009. Born, raised, and still lives up in Modesto.
Charlie, Martinez came on as a pinch runner at first base. There's a subplot as well, because first base coach Sandy Alomar had the stopwatch on Smith as he was warming up, and Smith is a long time at getting the ball to his catcher. Martinez can run, but they gamble and send him.
Quick toss to first base. Smith aware of that, so he throws over. But Blake Smith is facing Jordan Smith. And the speedy Martinez leading off first. Another toss over. Michael Martinez. Sandy Alomar Jr., boy, he's been on the short list of potential managers over the past few years. Broken bat, ground ball slowly hit to second base. Arozarena flips to Seager at shortstop. Bat and ball were flying about in the same direction. That's a second out.
Unfortunately, the dangerous end of the bat did not go at anyone in particular. Arozarena did not want to take any chances because he may have been inside that baseline. And the runner can go around you a little bit, so he did not take any chances in trying to stop and make the tag himself. Went with the force.
Francisco Lindor is back. Ground ball right to the first baseman. Jensen steps on the bag. That ends the inning, and that ends the game. So the Dodgers and the Cleveland Indians skate to a 5-5 tie. No shootout, thankfully. Dodgers 5 runs, 10 hits, no errors. They left 3. The Indians 5 runs, 10 hits, no errors. They left 4. Time of game 2 hours and 49 minutes. So that's going to do it from Goodyear for our viewers on Sportsnet LA. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. The Dodgers return to Camelback Ranch to face the Brewers. And here on the radio side, we are going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll have the McDonald's Dodgers Clubhouse.